last year, and it was very obvious what was missing last year. A lot of plays from the opposing teams were going over the middle. Now you have Saquon, who is maybe made himself one of the best linebackers in the league in one season.
Yeah.
Scary.
Yeah.
Leads the team in tackles just about every week. And Nakobe Dean, who has been healthy and playing like he came from a national championship Georgia team. So you add that in with, you get surprises everywhere. Look at Jalen Carter in yesterday's game. He stepped in, did some nice things. It's coming from Nolan Smith, for crying out loud. This is a guy that a lot of people are kind of written off. I think the one thing, and I love hearing this from the guys when they give their interviews about the defense. If everybody does their job, we're going to be good every single time out. And I love that they enjoy being physical, because that, to me, is what propels this team into being so freaking good, is that they are physical with you, not one play, not one series, all game long. Yeah, they might bend and break at times, but guess what? They're going to keep coming at you, and what does that do? It wears you down. And I could say the same for offensively, but we're sticking on defense right now. I just feel like this defense is special now. And who do you give the credit to? It's got to go to Vic Fangio.
It's got to start with him.
Because people have bought into what he wants to do. And it's, like I said, he has thrown in guys. I mean, come on, Huff has been, number one. Non-existent at times. And who has stepped in? Nolan Smith has done a really nice job. Yep. They're without Brandon Graham. Did it feel like they were without Brandon Graham on Sunday?
It really did.
No. This team is a mean team. They are a mean defense. And when you have that, and when you have the coverage you do in the back end, man, they're having fun. Yep. How many times do you hear of a defense like they're all smiles after game because they know that they are handing out punishment?
Absolutely. And part of the fun, you got to give credit to CJ. They were missing that last year. And first of all, his play on the field has gotten better and better, especially since the bye. He's been excellent. And also, and that's where, as soon as Cooper DeJean got in there, he didn't have to cover for Maddox. And not having to cover for Maddox, he stopped trying to do too much, and now he's playing really well. And you saw when they got down 9-0, they go to the sideline, and who's running that huddle? It was CJ, so credit to him. Big credit to him for being the vocal leader. But as far as the leader on the field, I didn't know if this guy was going to have the maturity to do it. We knew he had the talent. And unfortunately, it stinks the circumstances in which he ends up with the Eagles, because he did not fall for any football reasons. And it's a shame that something literally tragic had to happen. But he ends up with the Eagles, and Jalen Carter is now, he's the best player on the defense. Not only that, he's a top 3 defensive tackle in all of football. They held him on every snap yesterday. Now, I'm not talking about, many times I say, and I've been consistent with this, the refs aren't biased, they're bad. Okay, I've been very consistent. These refs are not biased, they're bad. They're incompetent, but they're not like, they don't wake up and show up to the game and go, I hate the Eagles. They don't. They might go there and go, I don't know what I'm looking at. That happens all the time, but they're not biased. But, man, I couldn't tell you they weren't biased if you watched Jalen Carter snaps last evening, because if you're watching that football game, you saw a guy who was getting penetration play after play after play. And they were grabbing him, tackling him, grabbing him all around his waist, his shoulders, around his neck, because they couldn't stop him. And he's the guy that has led to this defense being so good, in my opinion, because he's the guy that makes other players better. He's the reason. Now, I'm not taking anything away from what Brandon Graham was doing there, but Brandon Graham didn't see a single double team the whole season. Why? Because of Jalen Carter. I'm not taking anything away from Nolan Smith, who ended up playing, by the way, 81% of the snaps, by far the highest he's played in a real game. He didn't see a single double team yesterday. Why? Because of Jalen Carter. He's making everybody better. Also, those linebackers, they're able to fill and make those tackles without those big offensive linemen getting to the second level. Why? Because of Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter has taken this step that I didn't expect so young, because the knock on him was how immature he was. You know, they're driving fast. Something tragic happens in college. It leads the Eagles to even having the opportunity to pick him, because on paper he was the first pick in the draft. Well, you see in year 2 why. You see in year 2 why. And a guy that good just falls to you in the draft and then lives up to it. Look at the ripple effect on that defense. And no, we've been talking almost 10 minutes about this team and haven't even mentioned Saquon Barkley. That's how special this defense is. And then how about that Quinyon Mitchell? How about that Quinyon? At first it was, like, as he's kicking butt at the Senior Bowl, the one trouble is Toledo. Then he's at training camp and they're going, man, not for nothing, this Quinyon Mitchell looks great. And then there was talk like, well, maybe Isaiah Rodgers will start over him or Keely Ringo, they'll ease him. Remember that talk, Savannah? They'll ease him in. Remember that?
We were so mad. We were like, no, if he doesn't wind up being a starter, that's a waste of a pick.
Right. First round pick, you got to start him. Look how good he is. 2 catches for 5 yards on his side of the football yesterday. 2 catches for 5 yards. This is a rookie.
He's super glue.
This is a rookie. It keeps happening. Now, Flowers got some. Lamar did some Lamar stuff. He didn't do any of that Lamar stuff around him. Lamar was buying time, 6 seconds to release the ball, and he still didn't throw it towards Quinyon Mitchell. And then it culminates after a long game, a physical game. 4th quarter. They throw it out to Derrick Henry in the flat. And Savannah, play for the people. What happened? We can't wait for the plays of the game to get to this one. This just culminates in the perfect play.
3rd and 11. Nothing to work with there as he's pile-driven into the ground by the rookie Cooper DeJean.
Now, we all supposed to, I guess we do this now?
The Eagle bench is going ballistic over that play by the rookie against Derrick Henry, of all people.
What is that?
I don't know.
Is that a raven?
This is what we do.
Is that a raven flapping? It should have gone like this.
I don't know. It's an inside thing, but he starts doing it. Then the whole rest of the defense, then they cut to the sideline, and the whole sideline is doing it.
You should have just done one wing because it was a broken raven wing on the ground.
I don't know what this is, but this is what we do now.
It's a new one.
This is what we do now. I'm telling you, people. I'm telling you. This team's resilient. They have every single ingredient. I'm going to New Orleans. I probably have already upset both my bosses here and NBC Sports Philadelphia. Because NBC Sports Philadelphia's got to figure out how I'm going to be on TV from there. They probably give me a stationary camera. And the radio station's going to have to figure out how I'm going to be on.
And it's going to be me and you from here.
It's going to be me and you, and we're going to be like, hi, how's New Orleans?
Hey, I paid for this in my own money. All right? They can't even complain. But I'm a believer. Okay? My team's going to be there. And I know you're on board. And here's how I know you're on board. I want to reiterate before we get to Saquon and the offensive line and all those things. We reach out to you guys on a daily basis, and we check the pulse. And we started looking at it, and at 2-2, this particular show didn't panic. Now, that doesn't mean that we're always right or anything. We get stuff wrong all the time.
I was borderline panic.
Well, I should say Ricky and I didn't panic. And the reason we didn't panic was we said new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator, and injuries early. It was not going to be smooth. Now, did we know they were going to win 8 straight? Absolutely not. But at 2-2, we weren't panicked. But a lot of people were. And then they won 1 in a row. And 2 in a row. And at 2, Ricky and I were going, this kind of feels like a team that's come together a little bit because they had a new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator, all these injuries. It's amazing what happens when you start
running the ball heavy.
Yeah, you started doing stuff. But I think a lot of this was related to just figuring things out with a lot of new pieces and new coaches. And then we were told first, they have to beat Washington. That's what we were told. No. Actually, correction. Scratch that. First is they got to beat Cincinnati. A lot of fans said they believe it after the Bengals game. And then they go out there and beat them. And if you notice, the Bengals lose a lot. They never lose the way they lose to the Eagles because they score big points against everyone else except the Eagles, going back to this defense.
Yep.
And then it was, they got to beat Washington on a short week.
Yep.
And then they beat them. And then the last of the Mohicans.
They beat them down.
Right. The last people were saying, then if they beat the Ravens, then I'm on board. Now they have beat the Ravens. So now, It feels good because this has never happened, Ricky.
Yep.
This has never happened, Silvana. This has never happened to anybody out there in radio or TV land. For the first time, 100% of the listeners, the viewers, the texters, and the callers are now on board with the Eagles because we were told that's all it would take. And we wouldn't dare allow any of you to be hypocritical and backslide. I mean, we can't allow that.
I can scroll up on the text.
Right. If we allow you to backslide, then we're not being friends. You see, we like to have a relationship. We like to think that we're friends. Sometimes you fight with your friends. Sometimes you have a great time with your friends. Your real friends, it's not always smooth. But we all think of you guys like our friends. And we can't allow any of you to backpedal.
Got to have some trust in yourself.
Yeah, once you said that beating the Ravens was the key, well, then now you're on board. You're locked on the bandwagon, and now you just can't leave. You see, you can't leave. So today, we love to hear after on a Victory Monday, we love it. We've had 8 of these in a row. I mean, I guess we had one Victory Friday in there, but you know, we get a lot of victories around here. None of you are allowed to now bail.
Just bring the W's to work. We eat them, Jameis.
Yeah, like Jameis. Yeah, see, he's eating the W's. That's what we do here. So now that we have everybody on board, are you ready to book the tickets? Are you ready to book the tickets to New Orleans? Are you ready to go? Because that's where this team is going. That's where they're going. 610-632-0975. Now, we would be remiss if we didn't mention it. Ravens, you can see, they're good against the run. They're really good.
Yep.
And against everybody else, they kept people to 63 yards or less. Except one Saquon Barkley, who still goes over 100. And even though he didn't get the 140 or whatever, 150, but he still got 107 against a team that's over 40 yards more than they've given up to anybody else.
Pretty impressive.
With this offensive line, 40-plus more yards than they give it to anybody. And he did it on 23 carries, not 30 carries. Not like they gave the ball 40 times for him to do it. 23 is a normal amount of times as far as rushing. He moved up to second in MVP odds. Second. Lamar moved down. So now it's Josh Allen and Saquon Barkley. And last week, we were talking about the record. We had people kind of being, well, maybe. This is the best defense he's going to see the rest of the way. And he went over 100 on them. And the Steelers are up there, but they're not as good as the Ravens. And obviously Carolina, Dallas, the Giants, Washington, they don't stop the run at that point. Is there anything that's going to stop this man? And they're going to probably need the last game for the number 1 overall seed. I'm now at the point after what he did yesterday that I'll be shocked if he doesn't set the record.